What's up, everybody? This is gonna be a little different from the kind of stuff I post here. I mostly post stupid shit that most people find embarrassing. So I'm gonna talk about something, well, okay, Smash Bros is embarrassing as shit. Like, this fan base sucks fucking ass. What are we doing? But, you know, I guess that's par for the course. So there's like a new leak going around that Sakurai is working on a new Smash game. I don't think it's true, but it sparked up conversation. But yeah, this whole situation kind of reminds me of how Geeks and Gamers has a quote-unquote rumor that the new Star Wars is gonna get retconned. Because, you know, it's not like that's been rumored like every fucking year and people are like so stupid that they believe it every single time. Say what you will about those movies, they ain't going nowhere. And if this ages poorly, then, well, I guess that's that. But anyways, back on topic, I just want to talk about my thoughts on Smash Bros. The idea of a new Smash game is interesting. I think when Smash Ultimate came out, it was just at the right time. I was just getting into competitive. I mean, granted, Smash 4 is not a good competitive game, but it had some fun characters, mostly my Queen Zelda. But I wasn't like a hardcore, like, into competitive. I was still pretty new at competitive Smash, and the idea that we were gonna get a brand new game, like, it was so perfect. I don't think that we'll ever get a game as exciting as Smash Ultimate again. But on that same note, I don't think it's impossible for us to get a new Smash game that's better than Smash Ultimate, because Ultimate does have a lot of problems. But at this point, I think I'm just kind of spoiled on Super Smash Bros. I realized something way too late, and that is, do not ever play this game competitively. It is, like, on some level, a fun game, so you'd think you'd want to get good at it, but oh, trust me, you don't. You just not only lose a lot of the love that you have for this franchise, but you also kind of stop understanding why this game series is so popular. Competitive Smash Bros. Is like radiation. It looks really cool, and you want to get involved with it, but the more you interact with it, the worse it gets, you know? The more unhealthy you get. And at this point, I don't think I can ever be bad enough casually so that I could just play with other people again. I'm just too good at this game. And that sucks, but it is what it is. But what are my thoughts on Ultimate? This is a game that a lot of people have kind of soured on. It was really exciting at the time, but now people consider it one of the worst games in the series, and I don't blame them. Playing this game can take years off my life, and there are a lot of things that are really, really bad about the game, but I think a lot of the issues with this game is that it's so close to being perfect, but it just very much isn't. It's very weird. Smash Ultimate went from this game that you were not allowed to criticize. You had to, like, treat this game like a charity. You know, any criticism, it's like, oh, but the Sakurai works so hard, man. This is just a little nitpicks from me, a dumb consumer. It's like, no, dude, there are actual problems with this game. And now, it's the exact opposite. People are insane with their criticisms with this game. I think that this game is kind of a mess competitively, but casually it's still really good. Not perfect. I guess we'll talk about my issues with the game. The single-player content is obviously not very good. World of Light, not great. It was okay the first time you played it, but on replays, I don't think it's as bad as most people say. It's definitely not great, but it has some level of fun to it. I enjoy it. Mindlessly, yes, but it's still not bad. But also, collecting all the spirits is probably the second most fun of all the Smash games when it comes to this. I still think collecting the trophies in Melee, sparing a couple of the really annoying ones like Tom Nook, or the coins, or food, and of course that fucking disc gun trophy, is still probably the most fun, I would say, overall, but Smash Ultimate comes close. The problem is it does have a lot of content. Not a lot of it is very replayable, you know? I can boot up and play Melee and just play the game and have a good time. I could, like, start over from scratch, and I could enjoy the game a lot. But with Ultimate, okay, to be fair, if I boot the game up from scratch, like, no more characters, I have to unlock all of them again, no more spirits, that can be fun. I've done that a couple times. I think I've filled out all of my Nintendo Switch save files by doing that. It's not a bad time, but I think separating the two, at the end of the day, I can always just load up some of the event matches or the adventure mode for Melee and have a good time. With Ultimate, I can't really do that. The Classic mode is cool, but it is the least replayable in the entire franchise, because for certain characters, it's the same thing over and over and over again. It's kind of like Smash 64, but at least there it had like a sort of iconicness to its uniformity. I don't think that's a word. Unity, sure, why not? You know, you fight Link first, and then you fight the Mario Bros, you fight Metal Mario, Samus last, Giant DK, Kirby team, Yoshi team. It's memorable, and there's a charm to it. But then, when it comes to Smash 64, it's like, oh, it's different, but only between every character. If I want to go through it as like, I don't know, K. Rool or Incineroar, it's the same thing every single time. So I do think the Classic mode is overall, it has an impressive amount of effort put into it, but I think it's the least fun in the franchise. There are certainly worse classic or arcade modes in other platform fighters like Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 1, Rivals of Ether 2, and even Smash Rex is probably the worst one. But yeah, Ultimate's not very good. All-Star mode is just not a thing in this game. It kind of technically is, but it's not really. The stage builder's cool, but you know, the home run contest, it's very underwhelming. And then also the multi-man mode, it's fine, but because you don't get anything from beating it, I almost never touch it. As much as I like the Miis, I do miss when you had to fight a bunch of random made-up characters. Like, I miss the Fighting Alloy team, or the weird wireframes from Melee. I wish we could get something like that. But you know what? The Miis do make the most thematic sense, so I get it. And then after the Spirits, which once you collect all of them, I mean, you can replay some of the harder ones, which can be kind of fun. And after you beat World of Light, and maybe play it again in New Game Plus with all of your power-ups, which can be gratifying, there's not really a reason to play any of the single-player content, is there? So that's unfortunate. And also, I think the one genuine problem with this game, the online, is the worst online mode in, I'd say, almost any other game. I guess Brawls was a little worse, but like at least that was the first one. There's Smash 4, which I think is a terrible game, at least the Wii U version, but even that one was better. Like, you had For Fun and For Glory, and like, at the end of the day, it wasn't that serious. In this game, the online is still not very good, the netcode. And the reason is, Sakurai said he doesn't like making good online because he feels like it discourages people from having fun with the game. He doesn't like it when people play his games, go online, and they go from having fun to being upset. And I actually think he's kind of based for that. I think online play is grossly overrated. But he went about it in the worst way possible. He didn't put any effort into making the netcode good. So it's going to be frustrating for everyone. But then every single one of them is on some level competitive, where you are going to get upset if you don't win. There's Quick Play, which has forced skill-based matchmaking, and there's the GSP, which normally wouldn't mean anything, but now there's an Elite Smash mode. And Sakurai said if you can get this, you're good. So if you can't get it, it's gonna make you a little upset. Not to mention, even if you don't personally care, it makes everyone else you play care. So they're going to play in a way where they maximize GSP. Quick Play is fucking awful. And then there's Arena modes, which are poorly optimized. They run like shit. And I guess these ones are, like, okay, but, like, these should never be the main mode. And then there's Online Tourney, where if you don't win, well, you don't win, and that makes you feel bad. And not to mention, it has a time limit, because it's either gonna be on a competitive rule set, or a casual rule set, which, like, who the fuck wants to play casual tournament? That's like a low-fat Oreo. So, if you see it, you feel like you have to play it and win as fast as possible, else you gotta not play it and you gotta wait a couple days. Everything about this online mode is designed to make you miserable. And considering that this is the game I'd say, it wasn't the game I got my start in competitiveness, but it was the first game where my competitive career started from day one, you know? And it was the game that I by far got the most mad at out of any of the games in the franchise, any of them easily. I had more fun playing Net Play Slippy. And I'm not saying that because of the netcode, I'm saying that because the input buffer and having to fight like Falcos who just laser from across the stage and then just kill me with fucking down air, a delayed down air that wasn't even well timed, but it still killed me at like, what, 30-40% every single stock, yeah, that was more fun than playing Smash Ultimate online. It really does say something how bad this online is. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I still think this game is pretty damn good. I think casually, it is insanely fun. There are a lot of characters, and they are all, for the most part, fun to play as. There's a couple of ones that I don't like playing as. Sheik, Sonic, Robin, maybe Mega Man? Bayonetta is a big one for sure, but everyone else is at least fun. Like, whenever anyone defended the new dogshit DLC, which I didn't like the DLC, I might talk about that later, people were like, well, at least they're fun to play as. It's like, no, they're not fun to play as. Smash Ultimate's fun to play. These characters are boring. The only reason it's fun is because the game itself is fun. It's like the reason that the shadow and the lighting on the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC looked decent. It's not because the maps looked good, it's because the engine's good. These maps suck, except for some of them. So honestly, all things considering, I think the gameplay itself is inherently really, really fun. And you know what? This game has so much content when it comes to the multiplayer that you could realistically never get bored of just playing it. Even if you don't have other people to play with, playing against CPUs, playing with casual rules and stages and wacky scenarios, it is really fun. I think the reason we're all so frustrated with this game is because we're just not playing it right. We're playing it too seriously, and this game unfortunately was not designed to be competitive. Now, I will take that back a little bit. Competitively, people are pretty damn upset with this game. And yeah, at this point, the game is just not worth playing competitively, and that's because this game at this point is way too defensive. And with some of the ridiculous zoners that we have in this game, like Sonic and Min Min, that's not even saying anything about Samus or even my character that I'm playing as right now. Not to mention Steve, who not only is a really good zoner, but also kills you off of one interaction. And oh yeah, there's lots of characters who do that, like Kazuya, Luigi, and even fucking Donkey Kong to some extent. And he's not even that big of a character. This game is just not fun to play competitively, right? But there is like a certain thing that's there. The gameplay is fun that you do want to play this game competitively, at least a little bit. That's me. I do want to play this game still. It's just every time I do, I'm reminded why I don't. It's not that it's a terrible competitive game, it's just so frustratingly close to being good. I think if this game had like one or two techniques that were there, this game would be worth playing, but unfortunately it doesn't have that. Now, I have been seeing a lot of like revisionists say that actually the Smash 4 is like leagues better than... No. I was there, man. This game was doo-doo. It was dookie. It was ass. And I played as one of the most fun characters with some of the most graceful and flashy combos. This game still fucking sucks. It is not worth playing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Oh, Mr. T, people are entitled to their opinion. Okay, yeah, people are allowed to think it's a fun game, but they don't represent all of us. You're probably gonna hate this game more than Ultimate, because good God, was this game a fucking mess. So, it's a game that's fun casually, but has problems, and it's a game that's almost fun competitively, but has its problems. I don't think Smash Ultimate is all that bad. I really don't. I've had a lot of problems with it, but it's because, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm playing the game wrong. Sakurai made the joke, no, that's not how you're supposed to play the game. He's kind of right, man. You know, there's a reason he gets upset at people who, like, spent thousands of hours playing this game, because he knows that's not how you're supposed to play it. And that kind of leads me into my next point towards the fact that a lot of the people who are, like, saying what they think is going to happen with the next game or what they think they should do, these are people who fundamentally forgot what Smash is about, which is fine. You can play Smash Ultimate or Smash Bros. However you want. But then their ideas on what Smash should be are so obviously wrong. And that's the idea that Smash should, like, cut every single character and have, like, 30 characters max. And the reason for this is because, number one, it's going to be a much more balanced game, and number two, that's what other fighting games do. And they have much healthier metas. Smash Ultimate's got a lot of characters, and it's a very unhealthy meta. I'm sorry, but, like, we should just not listen to these people. They don't understand what makes these games good. I think my favorite example was Big Yellow, and I'm not trying to shit on this person, but Big Yellow in their Nick 1 video said, I'd be down with the next Smash game if they cut all of the characters but made the gameplay really cool. And they're saying this in the Nick 1 video. That game died almost immediately. There's a reason all these platform fighters die, and it's because they don't get it. They don't understand why Smash is so successful. You cannot ignore why people play these games. It's the characters, it's the content. Smash Brothers isn't just a fighting game, it's more than that. That's why it's so successful. That's why Smash Ultimate is the biggest fighting game of all time. I think it's up there with Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which was like the grandfather of all fighting games. I know it wasn't the first one, but it was the first good one. Right? That was a generational game. And Smash Ultimate's, I think, beaten it. And there's a reason for that. It's like in the new Lego Batman game. It's like, oh cool, we're getting a new Lego Batman game. That's really good. But oh wait, it doesn't have all the characters that I've come to know with Lego games, which is kind of the whole point. But hey, they're making the gameplay so much better. Buy the $20 DLC where you can get Joker and Harley Quinn. Woo! In the meantime, you can play as Batman, Robin, fucking Talia, other Robin, Batgirl, Commissioner Gordon, and then someone else, Catwoman. It's like, okay, you lost me. It's a $70 game too. It plays like Batman Arkham, but I'm not here playing Batman Arkham. I'm here playing Lego Batman. And all of the attributes that I like about these games aren't here. So I'm not gonna fucking play it. And I feel like that's gonna be the case for a lot of people, you know. If the next Super Smash Bros. Game doesn't have all of this content that people like, but it's a really good competitive game, it's just gonna die. And for good reason. And here's something that I think a lot of people don't realize. This is not what Sakurai would do. Sakurai literally, at the time when Smash Bros. Wasn't that successful with its newest game and their budget wasn't as insane as their potential next game, he managed to bring everyone back even though he thought it was impossible, just because he thought that's what people wanted the most. And he was right. So can you imagine if Sakurai's like, okay, time to cut all of the characters down to 30. And here's like the craziest thing about that. You aren't just cutting 50 characters, you're probably cutting like almost all the characters, 70 characters, because who are you gonna add to the game? You're gonna have 30 characters. You're not even gonna have all the returning characters from Melee if you wanna have any newcomers. And at this point, most of the newcomers that people want are like weirdos who would make sense in a bigger roster game. How are you gonna have a Smash game that doesn't have like Wario or Bowser Jr. or Rosalina, but it has Waluigi? You know, you don't have Sonic, you don't have Mega Man, but you have Crash Bandicoot. You don't have Cloud, you don't have Sephiroth, you don't have Sora, but you have Geno. It would be a really weird roster, and I genuinely think, especially considering the fact that Sakurai is still the guy who makes these games, a Smash game with 20 or 30 characters is more unrealistic than a new Smash game that has 0 character cuts, right? So where do we go from here? What do we do for the next Smash game? If you really do want a new Smash game, but it has a smaller roster and more competitive focus, I think that's a bad idea, but there is a way you can do it and make it work. You make a new Smash game that's smaller, but not the next Smash game. It's not Smash 6, it's a Smash spin-off. There's a couple of ideas. First off, I think you remake one of the older Smash games. I think you should remake Melee. Genuinely, if they just resold us Melee, they added rollback netcode, they made some of the bottom tiers actually function, and most importantly, customizable controls and input buffer, I would pay $70 for that. I'm not even joking, the game is so close to being perfect. There's just 1 or 2 things about it that make it a little frustrating. But you do all that, that is a fucking remake. You take a classic and you make it even better. You could do the same thing with Brawl, you can make its gameplay a little bit better, you can add a bit more content to it, and then it already has a lot of single player content that's really good. I'd be down with that. The other idea is I think they make a brand new Smash game, but instead of being a crossover of Nintendo characters, it's just only one of Nintendo's franchises. For instance, you could have a Mario game that's Smash Bros, but only Mario characters. You could do a Fire Emblem game. Why would you do that? But I think the best route is you make a Pokemon Smash game. Pokemon's already like a huge franchise with so many characters that would make for a great fighting game. You make it Smash Brothers, you make it a cross-team or tag-team platform fighter, because, you know, Pokemon's all about team building. You make its gameplay a little bit more competitive, maybe not to the same level of Melee, but pretty close.
Especially considering the fact that if there's one franchise that Nintendo actually cares about its competitive longevity, it's Pokemon. That, I think, could actually work really well, and we could finally have a new platform fighter that rivals Smash Bros. Yes, it is made by Nintendo, and that's because they would find a way to make it appealing to everyone and not just sweats. You know, so if you want a new Smash game with a smaller roster but more interesting gameplay, I think a Pokemon Smash game is the best way to go about it. But as far as ideas for a new Smash game, here's my thoughts. I think you still keep a large roster. It should be around the same size. You add a lot more characters, but you also cut the fat. So it's a roster that's about as big, but it feels a little bit more clean. But here's, I think, the two ways you go about it. This is just my idea. The first thing, and the thing that sticks out right out the front gate, is you do cut the roster down to 20 characters. But this is 20 core characters, 20 starting characters, 20 main characters. And these are probably just going to be like a lot of the characters from the original game and Melee, maybe like one or two from the new games like Pit, Villager, and then like Inkling. And then you showcase how these characters have changed, you make their movesets a lot different, and then you revamp reveal trailers. Instead of these just being about newcomers, you also make it so that they showcase returning characters. Like if you want to add Waluigi, you showcase Wario being in it. You want to add Geno or Rayman to the game, you can have a fake out where it's just the Mii Fighters, like, hey, guess what, the Mii Fighters are all back, that's pretty cool. Oh, but then it's also the actual character joining. Stuff like that. But I think the best thing to do with these games is a lot of people want good single-player content. They want a new story mode, but I don't think you have to make good story mode, just a good campaign. My proposal is you bring back one of the worst modes in Smash Bros., the worst one outside of Smash Tour, and that is Masterpieces, which was basically a couple of demos from some of the older Nintendo games, but you don't make them demos, you make them full games. However, they aren't emulated games, they're ports. They are these games in the Smash engine. For example, maybe you have Mario Bros. 1, or Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, except you can play as, I don't know, Simon Belmont, or Ganondorf, or Sora. And it's not just these games, you could have a variety. You could have a Kirby game, you could have Zelda 2, because it's the closest to Smash Brothers. You could have maybe Metroid, Super Metroid, Castlevania, Ghosts and Goblins. Maybe make some of these unlockable. That sounds like a cool idea. It's content to add to the game, it's new, it would be fun, it would add more replayability, because maybe the first time you could focus on like actually playing the game, and then the second time around you can focus on speedrunning it, mastering the gameplay to make an optimized run, choose which character fits best, maybe each character can have their own high score. This would add so much replayability to the games. And also, if you want Smash Bros. To be a celebration of gaming, this is a way you go about it, because I think it's kind of weird that the biggest celebration of gaming is just a fighting game, right? That's like the most niche game, because fighting games are just not very fun to most people. Like, there are a couple of exemptions, you know, Street Fighter 2, most people love Street Fighter 2, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or 3, you know, Guilty Gear Strive, but most of these games are going to be played by weirdos, right? I mean, if you've seen the fighting game community, these guys are fucking weird. But Smash Bros. Isn't just a fighting game, it's a platform fighter. And the reason it's so fun is it combines the mobility you get in platformers with the options and the tools of fighting games. So if we have a platform fighter that focuses more on the platforming aspect, more than just the fighting aspect, that could be a fun celebration of gaming. It's no longer you're just fighting Pichu as Snake on a stage with Megalovania playing. Now you can play as King Dedede while going through Castlevania, or Link playing through Mario 2. I think this is a good idea. I think this is probably the best idea that Super Smash Bros. Could have. You know, revamp some of the older characters, and I forgot to mention this, I think it'd be really cool to add Retro Fighters, because the last game had Echo Fighters. Retro Fighters are characters who have the movesets of the original characters that got revamped. So for example, you change Mario up a little bit, and then you have Dr. Mario. You have Ocarina of Time Link, and then you have Link, who's Breath of the Wild Link. You have Dark Samus, who's a Retro Fighter, and then Samus has a different moveset. See, there you go. Now Dark Samus's inclusion matters a little bit more. You have Funky Kong, who plays like current Donkey Kong, and then you have a slightly more different Donkey Kong. That kind of idea. You do that, you have a still pretty big roster, it's just a little bit more cohesive. You have great single-player content. I think this is a great idea, because this is like a way that you make it fun for everybody. Because a lot of the people who talk about what they want to see out of the next Smash game, they talk about it in a way that it only benefits competitive players, and that's just not what Nintendo wants to do. You see, like adding wave dashing, or like crouch canceling, or L canceling, or maybe not L canceling, but all this kind of stuff, it doesn't hamper the enjoyment of most players because they're not even going to know it's there. I played Melee for almost all my life, and I didn't even know wave dashing was a thing until like 10 years after I played the game. Back in like, what, 2003? I was a 3-year-old. Sure, you would get your ass kicked harder online, but like, online's more for competitive people anyways. But you know what will hamper these people's experience? Cutting a lot of stuff that most people want out of the game, just so they can focus more on the stuff you want. And that is actually going to hurt the franchise.
I guess the best way to end this is just to bring it back around my relationship with Smash Ultimate and what I want out of the new game. What I ultimately want is a fun game that has really good gameplay that I don't dedicate my time to. Kinda like Mario Kart World, because Mario Kart World is, in my opinion, kinda overhated. I think it's one of the best Mario Kart games. I don't think it's quite as good as 8 Deluxe, but that's mostly because of the content. I think the art style and the gameplay are superb. The open world is interesting, but not exactly like super in-depth. I just, like whenever people are over, I turn this game on, I play it, I have fun for like maybe 30 minutes or so. If I'm by myself, I'm bored. I pick the game up, I play it, I have fun, and then I just stop. Like it's not my main game on the Switch. That would be like, I don't know, Pokemon, or I guess Tamagotchi Life at this point. Those are games that I'd much rather sink my time into, even though they're a lot more chillax. And I haven't raged at Mario Kart World in the same way a lot of people have because of that. I don't think that's possible for me to do with Smash Brothers, considering how much I want to play this game competitively. It's a weird anomaly. I do want to play this game with other people for serious, but I also know deep down it's not healthy for me. Like, it's not good. These games, I'm gonna say something controversial, these are not games that people should be playing competitively. You ever notice how in every single platform fighter, no matter how they're balanced, whether it's a balanced game like Rivals 2, or Nick 2, or even Smash Ultimate, or it's an unbalanced piece of shit like Multiverses, people always complain about how annoying every single character is to fight. Why is that? Why is there not a single competitive game where most people like fighting most of the characters? It's because this game isn't that fun to play competitively. It's a fun game to play, just not play competitively. And I think we need to... It's funny, because people love to say that Nintendo hates when people play their games seriously, but like, they support competitive Pokemon, they support competitive Splatoon, but they don't do that with Smash Bros. And like, they're pretty restrictive on the Smash TOs, but like, now that we know what we know about these guys, whether it be all of the disgusting nepotism and sexual deviancy that the new scene has, or like the corrupt cry bullies that Melee has where they literally killed a fucking person, I think they just knew something we didn't, because like they know that you shouldn't play these games the way that we do. And I know some people are like, well, just let us play what we want to play, but be honest with yourself. Do you really like playing these games this way? Everyone cries and bitches at all of these fucking games. And it's not even a case of like, oh, this game pisses me off, but we still love it. People get fucking mad at these games. I swear, dude. It's less of like I don't know, it feels more like Stockholm Syndrome. And it's like weird because I think the gameplay of these games are fantastic. I just don't think they should be played competitively, even though they're good games. It's so weird because they seem like great games to play competitively, it's just they don't work. I'm not saying like we have to stop competitive games. I just think some people need to question themselves on if they should be playing these games more. All I know for me, I just want this next Smash game to be a game that I pick up and play for a little bit and just enjoy. I don't want it to be a huge chapter in my life like what Ultimate was, because, well, now I'm burnt on Smash Ultimate. I want this new game to be kind of low-key. Not necessarily on the new stuff, but like in terms of how much it's involved with my life. I think there's more things I need to be invested in. So there's my thoughts on Super Smash Bros. It's a bit rambly, but I think this is my thoughts on the franchise where it is right now, my thoughts on Smash Ultimate, and what I think would be beneficial for a new game. If you think this idea is cool, tell me. If you have a better idea, I'm down to hear it. Overall, I think Smash Bros. Is hard to say. I want to say it's one of my favorite gaming franchises up there with Pokemon and Rampage, but I have such conflicting feelings on it, and that's because I played it for too long. You know, I'm still excited to see a new Smash game. I just want to be excited again. Also, Star Fox dropped. What the fuck is this?
It looks pretty good. I ain't gonna lie, those environments do look good. But why does Falco look like he got scoliosis?